Hi everyone, welcome to the third episode of That's What They Said. Today we feature one of my very close friends, Chirag Tekchandaney. He's going to be talking about Bohiko. He's going to be talking about his entrepreneurial journey as well. Thank you so much for all the guys who've already joined in. I'm just going to be waiting for Chirag to send me a request, and then we'll be going, ahead with our chat that we've planned for all of you. And I just happened to see his request, and I have accepted it. Um, we we've spoken about what all we want to talk about, what all we'll have.
Yo,
Welcome to this chat that we have. I see that you're having some tea.
yeah, green tea, normal
Great,
routine for the evening. Yes.
fantastic. I just want to give the viewers a little bit of an introduction about Chirag. You
Sure.
know, I've known I've known Chirag since 2008, and I have lived with Chirag's different hairstyles. He was bald for a few days. He had a spike cut, he had a mohawk, he had long hair with ponytails, and then he got married, which is when now he looks like how he does. And also got the realization that like an entrepreneur, you still need to be looking decently. So that's his well taken care of hair as well. Chirag is someone who knows how to live his weekends to the fullest. We know for a matter of fact, and we laugh at his FPL transfers that he makes. Not been a very good FPL player so far. Uh, I know for a matter of fact that
This year's an exception, though.
this year is an exception, but then exactly why we've got COVID-19 and we don't see the end of the season.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Liverpool and my luck is exactly the same.
that's good. One thing about Chirag is that he doesn't settle for anything but the best, and he also doesn't let anybody else around him settle for anything but the best. So that's about Chirag. Just wanted to welcome you on this show. We've had two of your special people on this show earlier. One being your wife on Sunday, and our
Right.
very close Sank as the first day. How do you feel to be on this show?
It's awesome, yeah. Like, I mean, for a change, it's I'm a lot more relaxed because it's not work related, and I'm talking to my dear friends. So it's fine, and I look forward to like sharing whatever you want out of this, making sure this is somewhat a fruitful conversation for the people who've taken the pain to view us on a Tuesday evening.
Fantastic. So let's just go right into it, Chirag. Chirag, tell us about your journey before Bohiko. Tell me something about you grew up in Chennai, then
Yeah.
you decided to come to Mumbai, and you came to HR. You joined the club. You actually finished doing that. Then you joined a media company. Tell me, take us through your full journey about how you reached where you reached so far before Bohiko.
Right. So I think thanks, Sharang. And by the way, really excited because you're doing this chat show first time. So of course, I'm not a big fan of coming behind the camera, but of course, for you, couldn't really deny it. So I've actually grown up in quite a few different cities. I've been spent a fair part of my life in the Gulf. I've also been in Chennai down south, which has been one of my favorite cities in the country. I've done a lot of studying across the country, and so I think I've been a lot very adaptive to different environments. So that's been something that has sort of helped me through the years. First standard, 10th standard, I changed about 5 schools. Didn't have one set of friends constantly. I mean, you guys are honestly the longest standing friends I have so far. Right after that, I mean, first day of college, went to HR college, was pretty excited. Wanted to make a mark like everyone does, and I joined the road track club for that. There's a lot of history to that. There's a lot that happened in those 5 or 6 or 7 years that I was glued to the club really. But I think every time I was at the club, I did my bit, and I felt extremely satisfied with how I was leading my college life. So taken a lot of what I am. I owe a lot to what HR gave me, those times were really fun, and I'm hoping to share some of that today.
Fantastic. So then you finished HR and you joined a media company, right? That came directly out of college. Tell
Yeah.
us something about that.
Yeah. So I joined a company called Direct Eye. It was one of the marketing companies. We called it a marketing company as compared to a finance company in college. So right after, like, I mean, there were placements going on, and I remember one of my friends just told me, here's your CV, take it and go sit through it. And I had no intention really, because I was still part of the club. I thought the club is what's going to feed me as well beyond a point. So I wasn't really serious about picking up a job, but that happened. I mean, that happened to go well for me in the very first few interviews. I made it, and I had one last exhaustive interview at the campus of Director at Andheri East. That's the first time I met a few of my friends that are on this show as well, and go a long way in my life for who I am today as well. So yeah, Direct Eye was fun. It was one of the best first jobs one can have, because honestly, it gave you a lot of flexibility. It made sure that you had enough time on your plate to think. It's what made me enjoy weekends, honestly. Had it not been for Director, I wouldn't know how to really enjoy to the fullest on the weekends. So I owe a lot to Director. It was a great place, and I learned a lot. I had a really crazy manager, but I took a lot out of that guy. And a lot of people think and call me and place me in a similar light now, which I'm not really proud of, but I'm happy to see where I've come, and it's all thanks to some of those managers.
Fantastic. So then you started Direct Eye. You worked there for a few years, and then after that you came up with Bombay Hemp Company. You
Yeah.
know, 7 co-founders is what it has today.
Yeah.
7 wonderful minds working at it. I want to ask you about conflict resolution slightly later. But my first question here is that how did Buheco come up? How was it over? Like a nice conversation? Was it well thought? Was it one person coming up with a plan, or with what was the eureka moment for Buheco?
So yeah, I mean, for everyone who's read up about Bohico, this is a pretty straightforward question. We've gone about answering it in many ways, but to be very frank, and I'll run you through it. Bohico was the brainchild of one or two of the 7 co-founders. It wasn't the brainchild of all of us. Of course, what happened is that one of my co-founders, Jahan, is part Australian. So it was in the summer of 2010 when he went to visit family in Australia, and in one of the West Australian small towns, when he was visiting, he came across these large plantations of hemp. And he happened to ask. He was fascinated by the idea, so he went up to a local and asked him, "Buddy, what is this? What is it that's growing, and how is it growing so massively?" So that's when he got an answer saying that it's called Margaret River, that small town that I'm talking about. So in Margaret River, everyone operated only with 2 objects. Honestly, one was, of course, they grew a lot of grapes because they used to make some world famous wine. And for everything else, they used hemp. So honestly, that was that aha moment that Jahan had in a part of Australia when he brought it back to us in 2011. And we used to go up and down with the idea, try and see if we can make a plan out of it. Because he had some people in his mind. Of course, Avnish was core to bring all of us together. So the 2 of them roped in all of us, and here we are today. I mean, the rest of it is history. We used to meet at coffee shops. We picked up jobs because we felt that we needed some kind of real-time experience in the corporate space. And a year and a half into our corporate jobs, we said that if there is anyone who has to really kickstart the hemp revolution in India, it has to be the 7 of us. So without thinking much, we had a lot going on our plates, but we just happened to come together. And in January 2013 is when we started Bohico.
Okay. So you've spent about the best part of 10 years right now, best part of a decade doing Boheco, with 7 co-founders. How big is your team today?
Yeah, so it's a pretty proud feeling. We're about 28 full-time individuals that are working under Bohico, and of course we have some staff as well. But yeah, we're 28 of us.
Fantastic. So, how do you manage conflict resolution between eight people? Because technically, all eight of you are co-founders. I do understand that you guys have, work split up well between y'all. But then, how do you guys still manage this?
Sure. So that's a good question as well. I mean, the one thing that we learned in Rotrack, Sharang, and you would know as well, is we knew how to handle a large enough board, right? And that's something that's come a long way, to be honest. Even now, we've always assigned the role of either a chairman or a CEO in one of the seven of us. So we know how to follow order. We know how to earmark our areas, the kind of work that we're going to be doing and taking care of. We have adequate autonomy in that space. So I think it's been pretty smooth. I mean, of course, we drive each other up the wall. We test each other's limits. We go at each other left, right, and center. But as they say, like, I mean, if you spend 7 years with something, it's sort of meant for life. So I think that's how it's been, the journey so far, and I'm really glad how it's all turned out. I have made relations for life, and I hope we can take care of this all the way through.
Fantastic. So, you were at Direct Eye and you had this idea at the back of your head for a large portion of time. Uh, did you always want to be an entrepreneur, or was this idea that Avnish and Jan had just too fantastic to let go of?
Well, I'll tell you what worked for us. I think it was the age, right? So we were all about between 2021 when we were considering this idea, and I'm a fan of taking the plunge, right? So I spoke to a lot of people, obviously, before making this decision. But to be very frank, I told myself that any business idea needs to be given these 1,000 days. So I want to give it 1,000 days at this stage of my life, and I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I can lose these 1,000 days, but at least I would have come out taking something very, very, very important as learnings for my next venture, perhaps. So honestly, it wasn't as tough a call for me, but for anyone who's in their mid 20s or early 30s, it becomes a little bit challenging. But I'll be honest, there are quite a few things. There are quite a few things about being an entrepreneur that go your way as well. I mean, just the not relying on a certain framework, just breaking free from the monotony, and setting up your own sort of level playing field for yourself and the rest of your employees. I think that is extremely important for in the course of entrepreneurship.
Okay, okay. So, that brings me to the one question that you mentioned about how, what advice would you give someone like Chirag back in his Direct Eye days, or somebody who has an idea, who has an inclination but is very secured with their job because they're getting their salary. They do have an expansive lifestyle that some of us sometimes live, especially on the weekends. What
Yeah.
what advice to give people who are living a comfortable life to go outside their comfort zones?
Well, I think, as I said, I'm a big fan of taking the plunge. I think, before you know it, you're not going to know all the 100 steps, right? Like the whole 9 yards has to be walked to see if you can actually be successful in your journey or not. So my simple advice to everyone out there is that if you really have thought it through, and you know where your heart is as far as the idea is concerned, there's nothing really that is run of the mill that can't be achieved later, right? So I would advise anybody and everybody to take that plunge if they really feel it. And to my credit, I mean, to my fortune, I really had I had six other people taking that leap of faith in their lives at that point of time with me. So it sort of worked in my favor. And I'm very thankful to how it's turned out, and I'm very thankful to how it's happened. So for everyone out there who's watching this, I guess there will come a time, sooner the better. But think it through. Don't walk into something which is going to cost you a lot of time or money, for that matter. Take small steps, but slowly and surely you'll definitely go across the bridge, and that's when you'll have a great feeling about what you're doing.
Okay, a lot of people in the comment section are thinking if you're still really drinking green tea because they don't believe that Chirag also drinks green tea. You know, thinking if it's vodka
it,
or if
it's
something would have been spiked or drink because you seem a little more usual. But one question that a lot of people also were thinking about is that when you started off Bohiko back in 2011, you must be having like a goal 2020. Did you where have you reached from that goal? Did you see yourself being as big, or did you expect yourself to be bigger? What's the difference between what is there today and what you expected in 2011?
So honestly, we set out for world domination. We wanted to land on the moon, but I think we've gotten to the stars. So that's a good thing for us. I mean, well, see, to be very frank, we when we started off, there was no real industry, right? Hemp was a space that had to be sort of carved out. We had to change the game and the way it's played for a lot of other industries as well. There were no scientists. There was no formal research in this country. There was no formal cultivation of hemp. We had to bring these pieces together. We had to enable the ecosystem in a manner where it today is. And I'm very proud to say that today there are almost 30 other Indian hemp companies that exist, right? And this has all happened after 2013 because they've seen some level of merit in the idea. They've seen some level of efficacy in what we've tried to portray with not only our products but also the way we've brought this whole ecosystem together. So I think it's important to acknowledge that fact, and for me, it's always been a great journey, and I hope it continues to be so.
No, absolutely. I don't see there being too many hiccups on the way. We've had a question that actually come up in the comments as to there's no exact recipe for entrepreneurship, but then what are some of the hard skills and the soft skills that let's talk more on the soft skills aspect that entrepreneur should ideally tick in his or her box before.
So I think well, I'm not sure whether this would answer the question accurately, but honestly, I've been a big fan of humility, right? So I think as an entrepreneur, one of the most important things for growth to get your people together is for us to be a humble person. I mean, everything that goes back in the days when we used to study OC in HR college, right? Like how good a leader is to be. I mean, like all those things where you have to be more risk taking. You have to be humble. You have to make sure that you acknowledge and provide enough gratitude to the people you're working with. I think some of those things are a lot more important than your personal skill or your intelligence. And hard work, I think, is something. Hard work and sincerity are two things that I think no one can really match those two skill sets. So for me, some of those things and integrity is a big one. So for me, those things are very important to go a long way.
What about superstition? I do remember that you were known to be somebody who's quite superstitious. Are you superstitious, or are you a little stitious? I do remember you used to hate black back in the day. I
I
don't know
still
if
do.
this. Okay, so
I still do.
about what is it with Chirag and superstition? I think we need to know. I think we a lot of people who are here who are viewing this today know you for the best part of a decade and never have come to your superstition.
Well, I think I haven't ever answered this question on camera, but I am superstitious, and I don't. I mean, I'm not shy to accept it because I think that there are some things I operate in a boundary, right? And I think some of those things work well for me, so I continue doing that. And there's my wife. She thinks he still is, so it's clearly something that I'm saying which is right. But honestly, I think I take it in my stride for the things that have occurred in the past and how they have. I just don't want to take a risk to jeopardize any of that. So I feel like going at it is in the same way until and unless life hits me really hard and I, sort of lose faith in any of that. I'm going to continue to be superstitious.
Fantastic. You've been working for now about 12 odd years since you have graduated. Did you ever consider, or would you ever consider doing, like an higher education, like an MBA? I've heard that IE Business School in Spain has a very good MBA program. Uh,
Sure. Sure, I'm definitely down to signing up for a distance learning course very soon. I hope I can crack some scholarship in the process, though. I know this friend of mine who sort of operates for them, so I definitely want to see if he can hook me up to a scholarship.
No, but on a serious note, what about MBA? What about higher education? Have you given that a thought? Is it really needed from what you're doing today? How much value do you think it would add?
Well, I mean, see, learning is something that I've always, been like appreciative, admired. I don't think it's anything that's going to stop. And I think to sort of I mean, you would be better to answer this, right? Like, there's such a influential network you create at B School that I don't put it past myself. But of course, if there's going to be a pick that I'm going to have to make, it's always going to be what I've given the better part of this decade, more than what I want to do in B School or where I aspire to be as far as an MBA or higher education is concerned. I think there's a time for everything. I'm currently in the deep trenches of Bombay Hemp Company and managing that. So I'm really happy with where I am, but I'm pretty sure there will come a time when perhaps some of us may have to hand it over to more professionals to run the show when the organization is a lot more robust. So that's when I feel it'll be time sort of to move on. And in that phase of my life, if I feel that that would add to my career or to my, I'd say, accolades or whatever, then I'd probably go ahead and do that.
At IE?
Sorry?
At IE?
At IE, yes.
Back in college, I remember that you used to like to celebrate small wins. For example, we used to raise a lot of funds for a lot of our college events that we used to organize back in the club, and used to celebrate them by a small win that you would have received, because the bigger picture is to raise a lot of lakhs of rupees in order to do our event. And you used to have a pani puri, for example. Do you still continue like your small wins that you do? What are your superstitions, well, that you might be having while you have your small wins?
Well, I've let loose on that one because I mean I continue to do and celebrate most of my wins. Just the pani is different this time. For all the celebration that we do, of course the pani is of a different nature. Back in the day when of course we could only afford the roadside pani puri. It was that. Now God has been kind and we can afford more things. So yeah. I mean, we honestly at Bohiko we do celebrate. We celebrate every small and big win. We make sure that it's something that our employees long for and deserve, because they put in the kind of effort they do. And even at a board level, at a co-founding level, I think we celebrate the small and big wins in every way possible. And that's been a great a team spirit that we've had from day one. And I hope to continue keeping that intact.
Absolutely. You've been well traveled. You've been well traveled with Bohiko. You've been well traveled personally as well, because I believe that's one of your passions. Kunal has a question that he had in the comments slightly earlier. What have you learned from your recent international trip? From your past trip?
Okay, sorry. So I don't know why, but your voice is cracking, Sharang. It's a little off. But I'm assuming you were asking me about my international travels and what is the last thing I've learned from there. Honestly, I mean, I know where this question is coming from, so I'm going to try and see if I can navigate waters in a safe manner. But I think taking one for the team, to be very frank, is what I have done the best on my recent travels, and person asking this question would associate with that well. Otherwise, it's been good. I mean, I've always, I'm not really a big fan of traveling by myself or solo, but I think I want to give it a shot soon enough. Now that I'm married, but but other than that, I think yeah, man, I just enjoy go and I try and see if I can look around, party enough, and bring something back for the loved ones.
Bring something back, not some, okay. Bring something back. Okay. Let's do some more. We thought we should do some more rapid fire questions. So if you're up for some rapid fire questions, if if you had to write a book about yourself, what would be its title?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Sorry.
If you had to write a book about yourself, what would be its title?
Um, I think it would be Pocket Kings, KK.
Pocket Kings. Okay. Okay. What is one thing that you feel is true but the others disagree with?
I think right is right when most people don't do it, and wrong is wrong is even if everyone does it. I think that is something that I want to definitely tell the people out there, because I mean, don't just get together with the bandwagon. I think it's important to sort of highlight what you believe in and do in line with that.
Okay. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a cricketer. I think a lot of my very close friends know about this. I've been a big cricket fan. I've played cricket till up till city level, and I think that if I had a parallel career or an alternate career, I would definitely be giving Virat Kohli a run for his money.
Okay. And most satisfying moment at Bohiko so far?
I think it's the little wins when we make like a huge killing in a month in terms of like revenue. I think it comes with a lot of effort. All teams contribute a lot. So the most satisfying moment is when we clocked in X number of lakhs a month at Bohiko, and then we celebrated that as a small win. Yeah.
Okay. What's the brand that defines you, Chirag? Do you have a brand that defines you?
Well, yeah, there are many, but so I mean, there's no particular brand, but Onitsuka Tiger comes the closest. I'm a big sellout as far as that is concerned.
Okay. Who is your biggest inspiration?
Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
Okay, that's something I didn't expect. If my Dhoni was coming home for dinner, what would the menu be?
Sorry, if who was coming home for dinner?
Mahendra Singh Dhoni is coming for dinner to your
Yeah,
house. What would the
yeah.
menu be like?
I think it would be. I think it would be like omelets and like an egg, like a glass of milk with
Glass of milk is what you would order. Mahendra Singh Dhoni once he comes home.
that.
Just want to understand who takes longer to get ready, you or your wife?
Well, my wife. I mean, she says that it's me, but actually it's her. I mean, like all women say. Yeah.
Okay. And how long did you take to get ready for today's session?
14 minutes.
14 minutes. Okay. All right. Okay. Uh, what's the first emotion or the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the following words? Okay.
Okay. Love.
Okay. Poker.
Passion.
Okay. RCHR.
Nostalgic.
Lockdown.
Bad.
Charisma.
For life.
Okay. Fantastic. I think you've done very well, especially in
Thank
the
you.
rapid fire. And we spent the last 30 odd minutes. I know this was the first time that you've ever come live, and
Yeah.
it's the first time you've posted a story in my memory. I don't think you've ever done.
Yeah, I don't do that. I
I
don't do that.
want to know why you're so averse of social media.
Well, I like being up to date, honestly, with everything that's going on. But other than that, I'm not a big fan of like putting out what I'm doing on my daily life onto social media. It's just one of those things that's never really it doesn't occur to me, it doesn't come to me naturally, so I just avoid it. That's it.
Okay. What's the first thing you want to do after lockdown?
Oh, I want to celebrate with my friends and make sure Boeco is back up and running. Two things I want to do for sure.
Okay. Okay, cool, fantastic. I think we've spent some best part of 30 minutes over this chat. Thanks so much for doing this, Chirag. Thank you so much. We have a whole list of more people coming in on this chat. Thank you so much once again for doing this. Thank you so much for everybody to join in as well. Um, um, we hope that this lockdown gets over soon and we spend more nights at a car gym or any place that helps us to have some
Unwind.
good fun.
Right, right. Perfect. Thanks, Sharang. It's been great talking to you, of course. Thanks for having me and thanks for shortlisting me as one of the panelists. I hope I've been able to provide some kind of substance here. And thank you so much for again having me here. Cheers.
Thanks so much, Chirag.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. All right, then that was Chirag, and that brings us to the end of another episode in the first edition of That's What They Said. We've got someone special coming up again on Thursday. Rahul Batra is up on Thursday. Rahul Batra runs Cuppable, which is again a very 21st century product that a lot of people would find a lot of interest in, especially with how it helps in the environment as well. So please do join in for the next episode that's going to be happening on Thursday. I'm trying to do this on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. If you guys have any feedback about what more you want to see in this, any feedback on how I'm doing it, I'll be more than okay to listen to you and to respond with my thoughts. Thanks so much for all of you guys who've tuned in on a weekday evening at 6 p.m. I hope to I hope all of you are well and are keeping safe, and I will catch you guys on Thursday. Thank you so much.